Helena, an active member of the royal family, stood out for her public engagements at a time when royalty avoided exposure. In addition to her striking presence, she was the founding president of the Royal School of Sewing and also led the Royal Association of British Nurses. However, before getting married, her mother, Queen Victoria, believed she was not a pretty enough girl to secure a good match. Her appearance and personality were criticized in letters and diaries by her mother. The Queen considered the girl chubby and would pick on her, recalling that she needed to have a slimmer figure. Helena Augusta Victoria came into the world on May 25, 1846, at Buckingham Palace, being the fifth daughter and the third girl of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom and Prince Albert. She was born a day after her mother's 27th birthday in a very difficult delivery that took several hours. Prince Albert even said the girl was born blue, but now she was fine. Since her birth as the sovereign's daughter, Helena was recognized as Her Royal Highness, Princess Helena. She was a very lively and outgoing child, known for reacting to her siblings' provocations with punches to the nose. She possessed many artistic skills, noticed when she was only 3 years old, being an excellent pianist. Additionally, she had an interest in sciences and technologies, enjoyed horseback riding, and boat rides, her favorite activities in childhood. However, with the birth of Princess Louise 2 years later, Helena became the middle sister, being somewhat eclipsed, and her skills were also overshadowed by her sister Louise, who was undoubtedly the most artistic sister in the family. In 1859, at the age of 14, Helena began a flirtation with 26-year-old Karl Ruland, a German librarian who worked for her father and was later appointed to the royal staff. He was considered very reliable to teach German to Prince Edward, the Prince of Wales, Helena's older brother. Ruland was highly praised by the Queen, who considered him a useful and capable man. Helena lived a quiet life among her siblings, educated by tutors. However, the peace of the royal house was strongly disrupted when Prince Albert passed away on December 14, 1861, leaving Queen Victoria completely devastated. Princess Helena was also deeply affected and shared her grief with a friend, expressing the irreplaceable loss and the bitterness of longing for her beloved father. "What we have lost, nothing can ever replace, and our grief is most bitter. I adored Papa, I loved him more than anything on earth, his word was a most sacred law, and he was my help and advisor. These hours were the happiest of my life, and now it is all over." Victoria relied on Princess Alice, her second eldest daughter, to take on the role of unofficial secretary, but soon Alice also needed help despite being next in line for succession. Helena was considered unreliable by her mother, who viewed her as a crybaby. Thus, Louise, who was younger, was chosen to fill the role of Alice's assistant, naturally hurting the young girl's feelings. However, when Alice married Prince Louis of Hesse-Homburg in 1862, Helena took on the role of Louise's assistant. In this position, she performed secretarial tasks such as writing letters on behalf of Victoria, assisting in political correspondence, and providing company to the Queen. In the year 1863, Queen Victoria, upon discovering her daughter's romantic interest in the servant, quickly dismissed Ruland, sending him back to Germany. Her hostility towards the librarian persisted long after the incident. Now, the search for a union for Helena became a drama, initiated immediately after the librarian's departure. However, the prospects of a powerful alliance with a European royal house were scarce, given Helena's position as the middle daughter. Additionally, for Queen Victoria, Helena's appearance raised many concerns, being described at the age of 15 as plump and inelegant, with a double chin. Victoria, imposing her demands, insisted that Helena's future husband live close to her. The choice fell on Prince Christian of Schleswig-Holstein, but the union became politically embarrassing, causing significant disagreements within the royal family. Territories were in dispute between the Prussia of the royal Princess Victoria, Helena's sister, and Denmark, the country of Helena's sister-in-law Alexandra, during the Schleswig-Holstein War and the War of the Elbe Duchies, adding great complexity to the situation. The marriage horrified King Christian IX of Denmark and his daughter Alexandra, the Princess of Wales, who immediately claimed the duchies belonged to Papa, and was supported by her husband, the Prince of Wales, and Princess Alice. Alexandra openly accused Victoria of sacrificing Helena's happiness for her own convenience. The opposition extended to other members of the royal family, but the Queen received support from Princess Victoria, who was from Prussia, and agreed with that marriage. Despite the political controversy and the age difference, he was 15 years older than her. Helena was determined to marry Christian and found happiness with him. Moreover, the possibility of Christian staying in the United Kingdom, Victoria's main concern, was ensured as he was the youngest son of a non-reigning duke and had no foreign commitments. However, differences in the relationship between Helena and her sister-in-law Alexandra persisted. Alexandra was always reluctant to accept Christian as a cousin or brother-in-law. The Queen, in turn, never forgave Alexandra, maintaining a deep distrust of her. Finally, the marriage was proclaimed on December 5, 1865, and consummated on July 5 of the following year. The Prince of Wales, Edward, refused to attend due to all that confusion, but the intervention of Alice, his dear sister, turned the event into a joyous occasion. Victoria allowed the ceremony to take place at Windsor Castle, but in the private chapel, instead of St. George's Chapel. She broke her strict all-black mourning attire, with a white hat adorned with flowing lace down her back. The wedding was splendid. Christian was accompanied by his groomsmen, Princes Edward and Frederick, and Helena was escorted to the altar by her mother and the Prince of Wales, accompanied by 8 bridesmaids. During the wedding, there were some laughs and comments ridiculing the groom and the bride because Christian appeared much older than he really was. They were commenting that Helena was marrying an aged uncle. The funniest part of all this is that when the prince was first summoned to the United Kingdom, he mistakenly assumed that the Queen was inspecting him as a potential husband for herself, instead of a candidate for one of her daughters. After the wedding celebrations, the couple spent the night at Osborne House and then departed for their honeymoon in Paris. Following the marriage, they established residence in Cumberland Cottage, located in the Great Park of Windsor. This cottage served as the abode of the park ranger, an honorary title granted by Victoria to Christian. In London, their residence was the Belgian suite at Buckingham Palace. The couple had 6 children, Christian Victor in 1867, Albert in 1869, Helena Victoria in 1870, Maria Louisa in 1872. Their son Harold, born in 1876, died after only 8 days of life. In 1877, she had another baby who was stillborn. For these last 2 painful losses, her sister Louise commissioned the French sculptor Jules Delou to create a memorial as a tribute to Helena's deceased children. The couple received an annual parliamentary pension of £6,000, requested by the Queen. As the honorary guardian of the Great Park of Windsor, Christian also had his monthly income. However, he was often absent from royal family meetings, preferring other activities such as hunting excursions or playing with his dog. Helena, fulfilling her promise to live close to a queen, performed duties alongside her younger sister, Beatrice. Although Beatrice took on the more significant responsibilities, Helena handled the minor tasks. In later years, her daughter Helena Victoria assisted her by dictating the Queen's diary during her last months of life. Helena had fragile health and ended up developing a dependence on opium and laudanum. The Queen consistently criticized her daughter, completely discrediting the seriousness of any illnesses Helena might have presented, openly accusing her of hypochondria, claiming that she was encouraged by a tolerant husband. However, Helena faced various health problems, including a severe case of rheumatism and joint issues. Throughout the 1870s, she experienced several illnesses and ophthalmological problems. Helena always demonstrated a profound interest in nursing, and in 1887, she became the president of the newly founded British Nurses Association. In 1891, the institution received royal status, and the following year, it was granted a royal charter. Despite strong opposition from some politicians, Helena actively advocated for the formal registration of nurses in 1893. During a speech, the princess highlighted the association's commitment to improving the education and conditions of nurses. However, despite her efforts, her struggle and advocacy resulted only in a list, not in a formal registry of nurses. Helena played an active role in promoting handicrafts, especially sewing and embroidery. In 1872, she became the inaugural president of the newly created School of Art and Sewing, aiming to emphasize the importance of this often overlooked and forgotten art. Moreover, she believed she could provide employment to women without adequate means of livelihood. She was an active president, writing to the royal commissioners seeking financial support, obtaining, for example, £30,000 in 1895 for the construction of a building in South Kensington. Her royal position contributed to the promotion of the school, and she organized social events such as charity parties that attracted high society women interested in being in the presence of the princess. Helena wisely leveraged this to raise funds, using her image and position. She actively participated in Christmas bazaars, acting as a saleswoman herself and attracting long lines of eager people to be served by the princess. She also showed great concern for vulnerable children and unemployed individuals, organizing free dinners at the Windsor Town Hall. She presided over 2 major events of this nature, serving meals to children and unemployed men during the winter. These charitable activities made Helena popular among the people, described as beloved by the poor in Windsor. She also had a deep interest in writing, especially in translations. When the first biography of her father was released in 1867, she translated Albert's letters from German to English. This skill led the princess to continue with other translations, such as the German pamphlet titled First Aid to the Wounded, originally published by Christian's brother-in-law. This translation was republished several times until 1906. She also published the letters of her dear sister, Princess Alice, who died in 1878 of diphtheria at the age of 35. Tragedy struck at Princess Helena's door when her eldest and favorite son, Prince Christian Victor, died of malaria in October 1900, at the age of 33, during the Second Boer War. Just 3 months later, a still deeply affected Helena faced the death of her beloved son on January 22, 1901, and had to confront the death of her mother, Victoria. With this death, everything would change. The new King Edward VII did not have a very close relationship with his sisters, except for Louise. Furthermore, the new queen consort never fully reconciled with Helena and Christian due to the controversy surrounding their marriage in the 1860s, insisting on replacing Helena as the president of the nursing service, thereby intensifying tensions between the two. Helena, obeying the hierarchy, agreed to resign in favor of Alexandra, who assumed the presidency. The princess was serious and exercised efficient leadership in the service, and that transition did not occur without conflicts between the sisters, with the new king, between the sister and the wife. Despite this, Helena remained active in other organizations and even granted hundreds of nursing professionalism certificates. From then on, she saw her siblings less frequently but continued to support the monarchy, advocating for various charitable organizations she represented. Her husband, Christian, despite his advanced age, also represented the king in various international functions, such as the 25th anniversary celebration of Emperor Wilhelm I of Germany. In 1910, King Edward VII passed away, and he was succeeded by his son, George V. In 1914, the First World War erupted, and during the conflict, Helena focused on nursing, being sought after by many seeking news of their loved ones. In 1916, during the war, Helena and Christian celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, receiving congratulations even from Emperor Wilhelm I. However, there was a strong anti-German sentiment in England, and in 1917, George V, to rid the royal family of any Germanic connection, changed the name to the House of Windsor, abandoning German titles and styles. Thus, Christian and Helena simply became known as Prince and Princess Christian, and their daughters, Princess Helena Victoria and Princess Marie Louise, without any territorial designation. Albert, their son, fought in that war, but on the German side. However, he made it clear that he would not dare to fight against his mother's country. Christian, Helena's husband, passed away that same year, and she spent her final years in Schomberg and Cumberland Cottage, steadfastly resisting attempts by the royal commissioners to remove her due to expenses. She managed to stand firm, not abandoning the residences where she had lived for over 50 years. Finally, Helena passed away on June 9, 1923, 6 years after her husband, in London, at the age of 77. Her funeral was presided over by her nephew, King George V. Initially, she was buried in the royal crypt of the chapel. However, on October 23, 1948, her body was exhumed and reburied in the Royal Cemetery of Frogmore, near Windsor.